Hello, everyone. This is Josh, and today I'm going to talk about some of my own negative thoughts because everyone has negative thoughts sometimes. But I'm going to talk about the ones that I have a lot, a common negative thought that I always think about or I'll always wonder. And that is the thought that I'm like holding people back. But it's not like I'm holding them back from succession, but I'm holding them back from them finding their own way or finding their life. But it's not that I feel like I'm holding it back. It's not that I think that. It's not necessarily holding it back, but I'm delaying the inevitable, right? Their destiny is what I'm withholding. I'm withholding their destiny, was what it feels like sometimes. And I want to say that if you think that, right? So for instance, you think that you're like, well, I'm only delaying. So for instance, you're like, oh, I have this. I have to go out in the town with my friend or family, and you're like, look at you, you're fucking crumbling, right? You're like, dude, you're always thinking negativity. You're never thinking about any positive aspect. If you're seeing like a constant, if you're thinking constant negativity, you're gonna bring negativity. Is what you need to realize is that you should believe that if you want to be positive, you want to think positive. And that's a really bad analogy because you're like, oh, how can you think positive if you're always thinking negatives? Do the opposite. If you think say for instance, you think you're like, ah, I hate the way I look. You should try to fix something about it. Say, I think that a lot. I think I'm a fucking miserable looking. I look like fucking the guy from the Goonies. Y'all sloth. Y'all know who I'm talking about. The hey you guys. I'm talking. I think I look like that guy. All right. But you're like, well then I'll hit the gym. I'll work out, I'll exercise. I'll start eating better. And then you're like, but yeah, you'll always think like, but I love fast food. I love snacking. I love doing those things. And that's not like, it's not wrong to, eat out a couple times or that, like, you're like, but food's just too good. And that's a very common issue. I have that issue and I still struggle with that issue. I want to fix that issue. So I'm gonna try eating healthier. I'm gonna try just fixing just the minor things first. Anything like I'm gonna stop binge eating. I'm gonna stop snacking heavy. The, little peanut butter and crackers, if that. Some easy things. Not a filet mignon or a giant burger from McDonald's, right? Some people don't like McDonald's, but that was just like, I don't like McDonald's personally. I'll be honest. I find that food like very uh thickening for me. And it tears my stomach up. I can't. I'll be blunt here. But you shouldn't live in fear. You can't live in fear. Is another quote. I swear I've heard that from somewhere. But that's true. You can't live in fear. If you always live in fear, then you'll always think negative. If you live in fear, you need to go out and do things. It doesn't have to be productive. You just have to go out and do things. You can go out with you and your friend, see a movie, catch up, shoot the shit, right? Doesn't have to be positives, but it has to be something. Escaping from your own negative thoughts, even if you're like, you want to come out of your shell. Like, say, for instance, you are a part of the LGBTQ community. You're like, you are gay, or you're non-binary, or you're anything like that. If you are, then it's okay to say, like, come out to, like, your closest friend if they don't know you are, or you have that issue. You're like, I'm gay, but I have this issue. I don't know. Many people that would accept me. Anyone will accept you. 9 times out of... I'm taking 100% chance that your friend doesn't care. Your friend be like, oh, that's cool, man. I support you. Are they gonna be odd that you came out to them first? I mean, probably any friend would. But to be like... But you have to say... You have to think. Not say. But you have to think... How lucky do I have to be to have this such good of a friend to me to spill my biggest insecurity to? Well, not insecurity. Insecurity be like, but like your biggest what if, your biggest like you think people would hate you for, right? Say for instance, that's a thing. Or tell your friend that you're struggling with something. Like if you constantly, say for instance, like you smoke all the time and you want to quit smoking because you're like, oh, every time I smoke, I always chase that feeling. If you're always chasing that feeling, you'd be like, talk to a friend or talk to a loved one. If you want to. But if you're thinking, you're like, I don't have that fucking issue. Some people don't have that issue. Some people don't get addictions. But it's not really an addiction, though. Addiction is more or less like you're self-crippling it. Like if you have a self-reliant dependency, say for instance you got out of a relationship, right? Like how I did recently. Am I gonna go on a bender and be like, oh, fuck this shit, man, I don't want to fucking live anymore? No, I'm gonna turn it into focus. I'm gonna change for the greater good. That's what I'm gonna try to do. I'm gonna hit the gym. I'm gonna try getting a job. I'm gonna try putting my life together. I'm gonna turn my negativities into positivities. Because if you don't want to get better, then you won't get better. You have to want to be better to be better. And that's something you have to face. If you want to get better, you have to figure out what is wrong with you. Because there's always something wrong. There is no constant, like there is no such thing as perfection. Perfection is a state of mind. Kind of like how a person that is OCD, they get fixated on something. If they become fixated, they become self-reliant. And that is something that you have to realize. If you constantly think you're like, I have to get better at this, I have to get better at that, why do you want to get better at that? That is something that you have to think. Why do I need to get better at this? Or are you already good at the thing you're doing? Is it the best of your ability to do what you're doing? But I'm not the person that should be giving info. I never should be. But it's something that I've had to realize when I'm alone at my thoughts at night, and before I go to sleep, I'm like, what is wrong with me? Not like, oh, what is wrong with you? You're pathetic. Sometimes I do think that. I'll be honest, all right? But everyone has a little negative thought every now and then of course, that's what you're like. Or you'll think that, oh my God, I feel like I'm slipping. I'm gonna fall behind. I'm gonna fail. And that's okay to think that. It's not okay to think that, but like it's okay to think you're failing at something, because it happens. Sometimes people will relapse, or sometimes people will just have negative thoughts. Sometimes that's okay to have negative thoughts. But you need to think about them in an aspect of, am I gonna do better, or am I gonna sit here and just live like that? And I don't want to think like that anymore. I want to see myself change all the time. And everyone wants to see themselves change in a positive. No one wants to see themselves change in a negative way. When I think of myself changing, I think of, is this for the greater good? That's what I always want to think. I don't think, look at you. I see you've done this. Say, for instance, I think sometimes I'm like, oh, why did you grow out your hair? I was like, oh, because I'm lazy and I don't want to get a haircut. The reason I grew out my hair is because I was wondering. I was like, I wonder how long I could get my hair. And then people are like, wow, I never think you'd be the type to actually grow long hair, because my mom always forced me to have short hair. It was a 2 on the sides and a 3 on the top. I'm talking, I looked like a Christian saint. I looked like I was about to sell you a Bible. But I didn't care about my haircut. I cared about doing what I wanted. I always wanted to, quote unquote, live how I wanted. What did I think I wanted to look like? Or what do I think I look like? And when I thought of myself as a kid, I always thought long hair, an earring, or like ear piercings. And people are like, wow, you actually look good with the long hair and the earring. Because I have my left ear pierced. My right ear got infected, but I took out the right and I never re-pierced it. I was lazy. I'll be honest, I was lazy. I didn't want to re-pierce it. Plus, re-piercing ears, they suck. I don't want to re-pierce my ear. It hurt. I tried re-piercing the other day. I quit. I backed out. I'll be honest, I backed out. I was a little bitch. But re-piercing ears, anyone that's re-pierced their ear can agree with me that they suck. Re-piercing a hole is top 10 pains. But to be fair, I'm a punk ass bitch. But when I broke my foot, I didn't cry. I didn't cry when I broke my foot. All right. But I'm not saying I'm a tough boy. I didn't cry. I laughed hysterically, because that's how I fight pain. I fight pain by laughing, which is insanely fucking weird. I won't lie. But that's how I fought it. I fought it by laughing through it. I laughed through the pain, because that's how you should always feel. You laugh it off. You're like, oh, that's funny. That's gonna hurt. Fuck, that hurt. I mean, it's been healing now. It's practically healed back up. I didn't go to the doctor for it. I just let nature take its course. Is it growing back slowly? Is it gonna always be the same? It probably won't ever be the same, because, well, it's a broken bone. But it's your foot, all right? I can walk on it. I could run on it. Does running suck ass? Yeah, running sucks ass, but that's always running. Running always sucks unless you love running. If you love running, then all power to you. It's just, running sucks. I am not built for endurance. All right, I am not built for stamina. I'm built for brute force, if you will. I'm a hefty fella. But also, I need to change my settings. It's a little laggy. It's also all these fucking torches. I need to find a texture pack that removes all the fucking particles that I need to upgrade my graphics. I don't know. That's also a fuckload of slab that is created. Holy shit. But actually, this is gonna be pretty short. After I finish this, I'm probably gonna end it in this little tad bit. But don't live in negativity, alright? If you always think negative about yourself, you'll always be negative. You have to, like, look at yourself in the mirror and try giving a compliment. You're like, wow, I look good today. Which is a hard thing to do, because I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, fucking God, dude. What happened? You used to be this kid that looked you know, cool. He looked fun. And then now you're looking at you, I'm like, dude, I have a double chin. I look like I just came out of a fucking divorce. Fuck, I look rough. I look rough. And that's something I always think. I'm like, I look rough. It looks like I just came out of a divorce when I woke up. I'm like, looks like I'm about to go in the kitchen and pull out some fucking Jaeger. And you're like, damn. If you've ever drank Jaeger, it fucking sucks. Pure Jaeger, no chaser. Ooh. Ooh. Talk about some fucking yikes. That's how you know you are deep down in a hole. Is if you can drink Jägermeister with no chaser. Ooh. But there's some things you have to realize is that if you always think negative about yourself, then you'll always be negative about yourself. Don't think you can't. Think in a way that makes you feel like yourself. See yourself for who you want to be. If you want to, like, think about yourself and you're like, you know what, I want to look like this, then that's what I thought when I was like 16, 17. Is that when I was a kid, I always thought about myself of having an earring or having an ear piercing. I've always thought about I looked like that when I think about myself. That's how I always thought. Is that when I see me, I see piercings. I've always thought about that about myself. Is that I had long hair and piercings. Am I gonna get fuckloads of piercings? No. I like just the earring because it fits me. It's always fitted me. People tell me that I should get a nose ring or I should get more piercings on my ear, or that I should do this or that. I'm like, that's not how I see myself. 'Cause that's what I always say. I've thought about it, and then it's an overnight reflection of, but that's not me. I'm the guy that looks how you think. If you could think of me in any way, given the very lack of info I've given you, I look exactly how you'd imagine. Alright, I'm blonde with long hair. I'm a little bit chunky in the face. I got a chubby face, alright? And I got my left ear pierced with glasses. And I got a little bit of face fat. I'll be honest. I got a chunky face, right? But ain't nothing wrong with chunky faces. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But I've always wanted to look like the best version of how I wanted to look. I've always looked how I thought I wanted to look. But I've never wanted to see it through because my mom was like, oh, that's not like you at all. But sometimes my parents don't understand. Sometimes you have to, your parents don't understand what you do or what you want to do. Sometimes your parents, you'll think you're like, but that's not how I want to look. Or you'll be thinking you're like, but that's not me. And you have to understand that sometimes you're not gonna, you just have to accept sometimes life isn't like that. You have to accept that that's not me. And that's something I've accepted all the time, is that is not me. When I see myself in the mirror, I'll think that isn't me, or that I need to change something about myself. And I'll think about it so deep in thought that it'll start becoming negatives. I'm like, you're fucking pathetic, is what I think all the time. I'll be honest, I'll think that. I'll think you're pathetic. Why do you want to think like that? Or what's wrong with you? Why do you think that? And that's something I always think. All right, I'll be honest. I always think a negative before I think a positive. I think I'm fucking repulsive. I think that all the time. I hate myself so bad. I want to end myself, but I'll start thinking, why do I think I want to end myself? Is it because of my past relationships? Is it because I'm held up on something? Or is it that I just don't want to accept that I am who I am, and that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to think, you know what? Maybe it's for the best. That's what I've accepted about a lot of things, that you have to accept that shit sucks. And that's okay. That's always something you have to embrace, is that life sometimes isn't what it wants to be. And that's fine. It's okay to think that. No one is going to hate you because of one simple thing. Hold on, I gotta break this. This isn't. That ain't right. Nah, fuck it. I'll take the fall damage. But that's alright to think that. Okay, sometimes you just have to turn it into a positive view. And I'm sorry that I blank out sometimes. I don't know if it's like an ADD or ADHD thing. But when I was younger, I was diagnosed with ADD, and then they put ADD into ADHD classification. They changed it. But my brother has ADHD, and me and him don't think the same. And that's just how I am. I've always thought that. I'll zone out in the middle of class, and I'll lose track of time. That's always something I've had an issue with. But I'm gonna try fixing that. Is that I'll try being more attentive, or I'll try not zoning out as much. That's something I always wanted to fix, but I needed medication to fix it. But it was always, I got overdosed with it. They gave me too much, and it was just an issue for me. I found it hard to. I'd always pass out, or I wouldn't eat enough to where the medicine wouldn't like knock me the fuck out. But I felt like I wasn't doing anything. I felt unproductive. I felt like a zombie. But that is all I want to talk about for today, is that have confidence. Confidence is, in fact, key. Confidence is key.